guys, Rachel here with the Cackling Moon. This is going to be a deck comparison of my pre-copyright Rider-Waite decks. I recently acquired 2 decks to add to my little growing collection, and I thought it would be fun to do a deck comparison video. So if you want to nerd out with Rider-Waite decks with me, please keep on watching. Okay, you guys, so I just took the time to put all of my cards in order. Love doing that. It's actually really relaxing. One of my favorite things to do is turn on music and just sit down in a comfy place and put the tarot decks in order. I love doing it. When I put them in order, I put all of the major arcana cards in order by their number. And then I put all of the minor arcanas in order, and then I place them by element. So I like to do the element order of earth, air, fire, and water. So everything is in order, and I'm ready and excited to show you guys what I have. I'm going to be doing a comparison of 3 different pre-copyright Rider-Waites. I will definitely move the camera over to the table so you guys can get a closer look. But for right now, this is one copy this one was actually the copy that was gifted to me by Brant of Moon Baby Tarot. This copy is the one I spoke of in a previous video where I purchased it off of eBay, and it actually belonged to a lovely little old grandma who passed away. And this edition is the most newest and recent one I have acquired. This was also an eBay purchase, and I don't think that the lady that was selling it knew what she was selling. So those are 3 pre-copyright Rider-Waite decks. As well, I also put in a very recent edition of the Rider-Waite so you guys can kind of see the comparison of the vintage versus the more modern. And I also have my favorite, well, it was my super favorite before I acquired a pre-copyright. This is one that has a copyright, but this is an older edition. I don't know which one it is, unfortunately, because I do not have a box or the guidebook for it. This was an eBay purchase. I purchased this deck for like 20 bucks on eBay. And so I don't know which one it is, but it was definitely one of the earlier editions because the cardstock is very, very similar to the pre-copyrights and very, very different from the more modern versions that you find in the stores right now. So let's go ahead and switch the camera view over to the table and let's do a comparison. All right, you guys, so this is the boxes of my pre-copyright editions. I just wanted to kind of go over the box with you guys first before we dive into the cards. Just to show you the differences of these versus the more modern. So of all of the non-copyright, you can tell well loved, some of them a little bit more than others. But with the pre-copyright, you will see versus this is a more modern deck, you will see very major differences as far as the title card goes. Okay, that's like one of the biggest signs is that in the older copies, you get more of a lighter sign at the bottom, a lighter, it's like it's not gray or a dark gray. It's actually white or a very light gray. Sometimes it's hard to tell, like this one has tape over it. This one is a little bit more faded. It's a little bit hard to tell. It has tape over it as well. But for the most part, when you're looking for a more recent edition versus a more vintage, or a vintage versus a more recent, one of the telling signs is the bottom. The other thing is the newer ones will have a little copyright symbol at the top, right next to the deck, the word deck, and then the out of print copies or the pre-copyright will have nothing there. So that's also another thing to make a note of if you were searching. Another thing that I like to note is the vintage or the pre-copyright edition boxes. The Fool, oh my God, the Magician looks a little bit different. You could tell with the robe, you could tell with the belt. In the newer one, the blues are very light. In the older ones, you could tell the blues are darker, as well as the wand is one of the main telling signs. The wand is green in the vintage copies. And in the more recent one, the wand is brown. So that's a big, big, big sign as well, if you're just looking at the box to tell what the difference is. So I watched a lot of different YouTube videos when I was like, I mean, I still do it. I love to nerd out to this kind of stuff. And so that helped me kind of know what I was looking for when I was searching on eBay and all of that. So very, very, you know, distinct. Now, another very distinct thing you will see is the bottom of the box. So the more recent ones have a huge label or a barcode label at the bottom. The older editions will not have that. They actually all have pretty much the same thing at the bottom. And then the sides of the box, the more modern editions will have the US Games little logo, and the vintage ones do not. So that's also another telling sign as well. The tops of the boxes, so unfortunately I don't know. Oh, actually I could show you from this one. So the tops of the boxes are different as well. The newer copies will have a giant Rider-Waite, or sometimes it'll have something similar, but like you could tell the difference. You could tell the difference, obviously. And then the tops of the more vintage copies will have expressly for US game systems. So, you know, that's another telling sign as well. If you want to get even more nerdier, well, this one doesn't have the lid. If you want to get even more nerdier, you know, even the address will tell you, when you look at the white book, the address will tell you kind of, you'll have an idea of which edition you're getting. But I can't go into all of that because I'm still learning, so I'm not going to be giving false information. So I do recommend, if you guys love to nerd out to that kind of stuff, please check other YouTubers, especially Baby Tarot, because he has fantastic videos talking about Rider-Waite deck comparisons with the yellow box. And then the other side of the deck, this one will say, did I show the side? Okay, that's the one with the logo. And so then this one will say the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. You can see the little copyright symbol. And then on the older editions, it says the same thing, conceived by author Edward Waite. So that kind of, for the most part is the same. But yeah, you will notice barcodes. So if your deck has barcodes on it, okay, it is in some of the older editions, but that still have a copyright, will have a barcode on the side and the back. Okay, so this is a newer edition. You don't see the barcode, but there's obviously a huge ass barcode on the bottom. But some of the older copyright editions will have a barcode thing here on the side. I believe the smaller it is, the older it is. Okay, so that's another thing to take note of. But all of the older boxes do not have that. Same thing right here, reissued in collaboration with Miss Sybil Waite and Rider and Company London, printed in Switzerland by Mueller and C. You don't have that. You have like a little piece right here, but it's made in Italy expressly for US games. So that's a big, big, big difference. But yeah, if you are looking at the backs of the boxes, if there is a barcode, it will be, I believe it will be a copyright edition. The smaller the smaller the barcode, the older that version is. So yeah. There you go. Okay, so looking at the cards now, looking at the, actually still with the, let's talk about the box. Some of these boxes have sunburnt magicians. Now, I don't know when it comes to the pre-copyright and whatnot, if they're all like that, but all three of my boxes, with the exception of this more recent one, you could tell he's not as red. Sunburnt magician, meaning the face of the magician is red. So I believe, and from what Brant, so Brant and I were having a conversation about this because I was asking him, hey, what edition do you think this deck could be? So he kind of gave me a ballpark. So we're thinking this is the oldest, and then it goes into the more newer ones. because from what Brant says, that sometimes you see the magician face lighten up as the editions got newer. So Brant says he's thinking maybe this is like the 8th edition or so, like somewhere around there. And then this one could be a 10th edition, perhaps. And then, you know, later on and later on. So unfortunately, I do not have the guidebooks to tell me because they just weren't in with any of these cards. So the guidebook in the new deck, so the new decks, you have the 2 title cards, but the title cards are not blank. They actually have, you know, artwork on them. The title cards in the older ones are all blank. Then you have the guidebook. So the guidebook itself will tell you what edition you were working with. You look to the last number. So this is the 60th edition of this deck, okay? Of this Rider-Waite tarot deck. So that's how you will know. If I had the little white books for these other guys, I would be able to tell, but unfortunately, obviously with time, these decks, these older editions are from the 70s. So so obviously through time you're gonna lose stuff, and unfortunately that was, you know, I don't have those little white books. But if you have a little white book, look inside and look to the numbers, and always go with the last one, the smallest number. That will tell you the edition of your deck as well. And you know, if you're looking at pictures of the guidebook on eBay, if they have, or if you can ask them to snap a photo of the inside, you know, the inner page, then you'll know what edition you're working with. So that's just a little tidbit for you guys. So this is the more modern deck. It's going to have huge differences. This is also a copyright edition, but look at the copyrights in the newer ones. So this is the newest in this hand. Look at that copyright. It is pretty long. The copyright in my more older one is shorter. So it says 1971 US Games. The newer ones say 1971 US Game Systems Inc. So the copyright got longer. The other thing is, in the older editions that have the copyright, they still have Pixie's font. The newer decks don't have that. They have a regular text. So that's a huge thing too to notice. So you could still get, like, if you can't find a pre-copyright, you could still find a copyright edition that is older. So this is definitely an older version. Unfortunately, I don't have the guidebook for this, so I don't know. But I mean, if you do your history work on the Rider-Waites, I'm sure you could figure out when kind of what ballpark this deck came out, like what edition and all of that. But it still has a copyright, but it is definitely one of the older versions. This used to be my vintage tarot deck before I was gifted my little baby. So yeah, so that was that. Okay, so I want to have a comparison of the pre's, and then I'll pull the other ones out so you can see them too. Not gonna go card by card, so don't worry, you guys. Do not worry. I need to make sure I keep them all in order, so I'm gonna make sure I have the boxes that go to them to the top. So in the edition that Brant gave me, this is the Sunburnt Magician. Obviously you could tell he is a super red in the face. Compared to my other magicians, this one is still red in the face, but not as bright, right? And then this third one is, I don't even know if he would be considered sunburnt. So I put them all in order, but in the edition that Brant gave me, it only came with one of the blank title cards. So I'm assuming that the older ones did have 2 to them, and then obviously a guidebook, but you know, we don't have that. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware. And this is the one that is completely, this is the one from the little old lady that passed away. So this one has the 2 title cards, and it does not have the guidebook, but this is the one where it's like handwritten all over the borders because she wrote all over her cards. So I have decided to leave them as is because it's kind of a charm. Like, I feel like it's just like special. It makes this deck a little bit more special. So I'm gonna leave it be. I'm not gonna mess with that. And then this third one is the one that I found on eBay as well. This one is so exciting because it doesn't have any of the title cards or the guidebook. Am I missing a card? Hang on, guys. Sorry, it's hard to do this with the camera in front of my face. Okay. This one has, it may not have the title cards or the guidebook, but it does have a sunburn, or no, a blushing fool. I'm sorry, a blushing fool. So it may not have the sunburnt magician on the box, but it has I want to say sunburnt fool, but it's a blushing fool, meaning the fool's face. There's like a printer error when these cards were made, causing that blush factor to come out, and it actually comes up in the High Priestess as well. So that was a pleasant surprise because when I bought this deck, I did not know that. So that was very exciting, as you can tell. Like, I was freaking excited because, you know, I've always wanted one of those. So, okay. So these are the cards. These are what they look like. Obviously the one in the middle it looks older, but it's a newer version from this one, I believe, I am assuming. But I just kind of wanted to show you guys side by side how they look. So they all have Pixie's font on the bottom. And like I said, this fool has a little blush to his face versus these other two. But basically everything is pretty much the same. When these cards all came out, the editions, like when they all came out, this is like, you know, a matter of like a couple editions maybe apart, you know, like Brent was saying, maybe this is like the 8th edition, this could be the 10th edition, this could be who knows what. So there is definitely a, you know, a subtle differences maybe that you would catch, but it's not going to be super major. Now, the other thing I am kind of noticing is the rocks. Look at that. So the rocks on these two actually they have more browns to them, and the rocks in this middle one are actually a little bit lighter. Just a little bit. So that's kind of interesting. That's cool. I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe this is older. I don't know. I wouldn't know. That's pretty cool. So, and then let's look at it with the, so this is a copyright edition. This is like the older version. Look at how similar though, you guys. Look at how similar that is. For it to have a copyright, but it's still one of the older versions. Look at how similar it looks to the other ones, right? Very, very much the same, except for maybe the tights are a little bit different color, just a little bit, or, you know, I don't know. Everything else looks pretty much the same to me. And then the font is the same too. So I'm telling you, like, just because it has a copyright doesn't mean that it's like not special. Like, it is what it is. But, that's pretty cool. Like, I like it. So when you're looking for more older or vintage copies of the Rider-Waite, you want to make sure that it has Pixie's font. That's, to me, is special, because you can also go for something more modern, but I mean, look at the font. It kind of throws it off to me. It's just not special as special. And then the cardstock changes. So this is the 2 copyrights, but look at the cardstock in this guy. This one is a little bit not super glossy. It does have a shine to it. Some of the cardstocks in the new ones are like plastic, like super glossy. Some of the other new ones are not as bad. So it depends on the edition that you get. Like I said, this one is the 60th. So it depends on the edition that you get, but the cardstock in the older decks are much more matte, like much more matte, which I feel like I just prefer it. But you could see like the difference, the vibrancy in the colors. See the difference? The yellows and the blues stick out so much more. So yeah. And then the line work too. Really interesting. Okay, so let's look at another version of the card. Let's look at, let's see, let's try the Emperor, because we have some reds there. Okay, so let's look at the Emperor. I just want to make sure everything stays in order because I don't want to confuse myself. Knowing me, I would do that. Okay. So there's the Emperor. And then in my new ones, and in my other one. Okay. So these are the pre-copyright Emperors. Pretty much the same. Yeah, kind of pretty much the same there. I don't really see any major changes. I love comparing. I think it's so cool. Yeah, pretty much the same. The newest edition, the red in the background is a little bit lighter, more yellows in it. What else do we see different? The Emperor's robe actually looks darker red than the older versions. So yeah, the robe is much redder. And then obviously the font. And then the other copyright version, but my more older copyright, he kind of mimics, yeah, pretty similar to the the pre-copyright. His robe is actually fainter. It looks more faded, to be honest. It actually looks more faded. This one actually looks much more orangey red. I don't know. Okay. All right, let's see. Let's look at the Hermit. So I know the Hermit is another card. The Hermit is another card that is like always major, like has huge differences. So let's look at the Hermit. I love to nerd out to this stuff, you guys. I freaking love this. Oh, wow. Big differences. Okay. Okay, first let's look at the pre-copyright, since that's what this video is about. So in this one, he actually has more of a lighter, it actually doesn't look as green. Yeah, this is definitely lighter, and then it goes darker and darker. So that's pretty cool to see that difference. As far as everything else kind of looks the same. Let me look off camera. Yeah. The line work on his hand is a little blurry, but yeah, it's pretty much okay. So the lantern has green in all of them. Here's the newer one. They're the newest of, at least the newest that I have. You still have the green in the lantern. You can't see it as much as you do the non-copyright. And then the hand, look at, see the light, like the color work in the hand. You have some specks of red, and then in the newest ones, it's pretty much like an orange color. And let's see what else. What else? The color, it's just more flat in the new ones, more flat. You don't get a lot of like this different kind. I don't even know what you would call that. Very different though. The new editions are just much more flat. This is the darkest of the backgrounds. And then this is the other copyright edition. Wow, look at that difference. crazy. This was like really, really light. Almost like it's more gray. Let's look at it compared to the non-copyright. So this one is obviously, this is my vintage copyright. I'm going to call it my vintage copyright. Yeah, it's much more gray. That's interesting. I like to see those differences. That's pretty cool. But you could also see the color work is still the same. That's speckled, like you have some reds and stuff in there. Still the same. Major, major differences there. It's pretty cool. Okay. And lastly, let's look at the moon. Because I'm one of those people where when I compare, I like to look at the moon because the moon sometimes can look different too. Oops, that's a star. Oh, that moon is so dirty. She must have spilled something on there like coffee. I always pay attention, when I look at the moon, I always pay attention to the colors of the sky, the crayfish. The blue in this one actually looks a little bit darker. Okay. So my non-copyrights, oops. Pretty much the same. The crayfish is purple and most of them. This one has like a little bit more of a maroon tone to it. Off camera. And actually no, it's more, they're all purple, but one of them looks a little bit more, like this one looks to me, looks like it has a little bit more maroonish or reddish in it. This one's hard to tell because obviously it has the staining on it, but the sky looks like it would be pretty much the same. This one just looks lighter to me though. And then the sky on this one is definitely darker. Do you see that? Like definitely a darker blue, even off camera. So the most modern with the regular typed font, bright ass yellow. Look at that, see? More, the yellows stick out, they pop out more. Other than that though, the blue could be too a little bit more. This is like more sky blue, this is more, yeah, it's different. Different. And then the other copyright. The copyright against the non-copyright. Very similar. Yeah. Really similar. I like that. That's pretty cool. It's kind of hard. Like I said, it's kind of hard to compare to this one because the card is dirty. This one though, like it's still darker. I wish I could tell which editions. Pretty cool, you guys. Pretty cool. So basically, it's very much the similar in most ways. This deck is a little bit different. I don't know. Maybe if that would make it an older edition because it is a blushing fool. But then again, I don't know. So interesting. These cards are in really good condition. These cards are in good condition too. They actually are both pretty nice. Yeah, they're pretty, like they're about the same. The card backs on all of these are all of the plaid backs. There's really nothing different about that. They're all plaid back. So pretty cool, you guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you guys enjoyed the comparison and all of that good stuff. Like I said, I wish I had the little guidebooks so I could show you what the additions they are, because I would love to know too. But you know, it is what it is. But I am excited. I'm very, very, very fortunate to have found these 2 copies of a non-copyright, because honestly, I never thought I would even own one. So when Brand gifted me this one, I was like over the moon about it, because I literally wasn't expecting it. It was just a special gift. And then when I found these 2, I was like, that is insane, because I literally found both of these in the same week. So it's just like, I always tell people, I always say that when Spirit wants you to have something, you're gonna have it. So if there's like a certain deck that you've been wanting for forever, right? It's like been on your radar forever. If you're meant to have it, you're going to have it. You're going to find it. And that's like, that's what I believe when I am searching for, where did my fool go? Did he fall in here? That's what oh, here he is. That's what I believe when, you're searching for decks on eBay. If there's a specific deck you're looking for, and maybe it's a rare one, or it's just super expensive or whatever, it's kind of like when it's time, when you're supposed to have it, you're gonna find it. And that's happened to me so many times with my Baba Studio decks. So I got Baba Studios, all of the Bohemian Gothic Tarots, which I'm actually going to be doing an updated video showing you guys my collection. But all of my Baba Studios, with the exception of the 3rd edition, I purchased on eBay, and everything came to me when it needed to. And I paid a lot of money for one deck, but the other ones, everything was very affordable compared to the prices that you are seeing now. So I'm just in shock. Like, sometimes I'm like in so much shock when I see the prices for some of these decks that are out of print and stuff. It's just crazy. It's crazy. But I've thrown down money for a used deck because I absolutely, you know, wanted it. I had to have it. So if you collect cards, you know what that's like. You know, you will throw down money for something if you really want it. So I have no shame in that, because I know I'm going to use it, right? But most of my Baba Studio decks that I found were like, I consider them very lucky finds, because it was kind of just like I was randomly checking and there it was. So I love how that kind of thing works. But like I said, you guys, if there's a certain deck you're looking for, or maybe you're looking for a pre-copyright version or whatever, maybe you're looking for a Blushing Fool, which I was, and I didn't even know this deck had it. So that was pretty cool. Or maybe you're looking for a Sunburnt Magician box. I don't know. Everyone's different. We all have like our little things that we're looking for when it comes to our cards. Just don't hold out. Don't lose hope is what I'm trying to say. Don't lose hope, because you will find something. You just have to, you know, keep looking. You got to be on it all the time. It's almost kind of like a treasure hunt, you know, and it's just so, the feeling of like satisfaction when you finally find that. I gotta tape this deck like crazy, this box. The satisfaction that you get when you finally find that deck that you've been hunting for forever is just the best feeling. So you gotta be completely, you know, devoted to looking for it, and you will find. You'll be surprised what you find. Sometimes people don't know what they have. That's what happened with this one. So this one was just a random, it came up on eBay. I don't think the lady knew what she had. I wanted to ask for photos of the Fool just so I could see if it was a Blushing Fool, because I know that some of these editions do have Blushing Fools. But I was afraid to ask, because I was like, well, what if she like figures it out and then she won't sell it so cheap? So I paid $40. This purchase came with 2 other decks, which
they're kind of like wah decks, you know, like they're just like dumb little decks. So the one I really wanted was this one, but she didn't want to sell it separate, and so I offered $40 and I snagged it. So yeah, $40 for this one. This one was also, I believe, $45 plus shipping was like $5 or something, and then so I paid $50. So not bad at all. I mean, not this one, I'm sorry. This is the one Brant gave me. This one was like $45 plus shipping. And then this one is the one Brant gave me, which was completely free. It was a loving gift. So freaking crazy how that stuff kind of happens, you guys. This one was a eBay purchase, and like I said, I think I bought this for like $20, like super cheap. But even though it's copyright, it's still a vintage, like it's an older one, you know, and it's a nice one. Like the cardstock on this, I always say the cardstock feels like money. And that's one thing that I love about a lot of these vintage cards is that the cardstock feels like money. It's just, it has a different feel compared to these more modern ones that are just so plasticky and glossy and slippery when you're trying to shuffle. It's just like, you know how it is, the stuff made in, you know, back in the day just is better quality versus some of this modern stuff, you know. So anyways, thank you guys for tuning in and watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave them below in the comments, and happy deck hunting. And I hope you guys all find the ones that you have on your wish list, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.